My name is Shannon Martinez. I'm a chef that specialises in vegan cooking. I have Smith & Daughters and Smith & Deli in Melbourne, and I absolutely love gardening. A vegan chef is basically someone who only cooks with plants. So we're talking no honey, no dairy, no eggs, purely what you can grow in the ground. Homegrown garlic is like garlic on steroids. It's hot, it's spicy, super pungent. Definitely the sort of thing that you don't want to eat on that first date, that's for sure. But there's nothing like it. For vegan cooking, garlic to me is an essential ingredient because a lot of the things that you're removing from cooking, you kind of need to build those flavors back up. So something as strong and punchy as garlic can really help lift a dish that could otherwise lack a little bit. I'm a Melbourne girl through and through. I was born and raised around Fitzroy. I've travelled all around the world. I've lived in the States on and off for quite a long time, and I always come back to Melbourne. It's just such an easy city to live in, a great sense of community here. You know, for such a large city, it does feel quite small. That's one of the things I really love about it here. My father is from Spain. He came to Australia in his early teens, and my mum is from Thornbury. So a good mixture, Aussie and Spanish. And of course, you know, that's meant that I was raised with some pretty amazing food, which definitely inspired me, I would say, to become a chef and just become obsessed with food. I think my favourite thing about growing chilies is that they're easy, you know? You put them in the ground, you make sure you treat the soil right, and they'll look after you. You know, this plant's been in there now for 2 years and it just keeps fruiting. So they're not a lot of work. They give you constant pleasure. And when it comes to the end of the season, I like to trim them all down, hang them up, dry them out, and then I've got chilies all through the winter. Some things that I love to do is make sure you have some sweet, some super spicy, and then some in the middle range. So then no matter what you're cooking, you've got something that suits every dish. Cooking vegan food is such an exciting way to cook. It's not only super seasonal, but very creative. When you start taking away things like animal proteins, dairy, you really have to start thinking outside the box on how you can develop these incredible dishes using purely plants. It's also, for me, an amazing way to help the environment by cutting down on emissions and things like that, and just, you know, cooking with pure plants. Tomatoes are definitely in my top 3 favourite things to eat of all time. I eat them like apples, you know, one big bite, pinch of salt, like they are that perfect that you really don't need to mess around with them. But they're also one of the most versatile things to use in cooking, you know, obviously from salads to sauces. You can pickle them when they're green. So, you know, if you're finding that some of your tomatoes aren't going red, thinly sliced and pickled is beautiful. Even frying them as well is really great. So, like, the things you can do with them are limitless. So mid-2020 is when I discovered that I had triple-negative breast cancer, which definitely was a big spanner in the works when we were, you know, just starting to get our heads around what we were going to do about this pandemic and businesses closing and things like that. So it was a pretty rough time. Once I was diagnosed, the doctors offered to put me on a trial, which was immunotherapy. So they combined immunotherapy with chemotherapy, and I had 24 rounds of that and then 20 rounds of radiation. So that was just to make sure that everything was gone, and then there was also surgery in between there as well. Once I started treatment, I actually wasn't really allowed to leave my home just because I was immunocompromised, you know, during chemo. So I focused all my energies on gardening, and this amazing thing happened where I just, for one of the first times ever, felt this total sense of calm. Being in the garden without any music on, just listening to the breeze, listening to the birds, putting my hands in the dirt, there was something about that that finally slowed me down and allowed me time just to relax. Getting cancer has definitely reminded me that I'm not invincible and that none of us are invincible. And I don't know, I'm very grateful for being able to make it through to the other side. All right, I'm finally gonna harvest the garlic. Fingers crossed, there's something under the dirt. Oh, We've got garlic. Beautiful. And then I'm going to use this fresh, but you can definitely store this hanging in a dry area and let this age, and then it will last you ages. Now it's time to bring the spice in for the dish. So we're going to pick some chilies. Now I'm going to go and pick one of all of them just so I can get the different flavour profiles from each of the chilies. So we've got spice and heat. We've got some fruitiness here as well. And then these ones are really nice and like zesty. So I'm just going to grab some parsley. I might even just grab a couple of spring onions too. So we're making vegan garlic prawns. Now, this is a very traditional Spanish dish made not so traditionally with the use of vegan prawns. What these little guys are made of is actually a plant, and the plant is called konjac, and it's a tuber that grows underground. And once it's dried and turned into a flour, it can be turned into so many things. But what it has an amazing texture for is things that have a shellfish-like texture. So that's what we're using today to replace your real prawns. So to make garlic prawns is a really simple dish. This is something you can get together in about 5 minutes. Now, in pure Spanish tradition, we are going to use an obscene amount of olive oil. There's a little trick, I guess, as a chef on how to make things taste delicious. Always add more olive oil and salt than you probably deem appropriate. Now, while our oil is heating up, we're going to get our gorgeous garlic together. It smells so good. You can finely dice this if you like, but I actually like garlic in nice fine slithers. Now I'm going to add some chilies. Because I've chosen the 3 different varieties, I'm just going to go half on each one. Now last up, the spring onions. So I'm just going to leave them quite chunky. Now it's time for our prawns. Now, because these aren't real prawns, they are already cooked through. So what we're doing is getting a bit of colour on there and heating them through. Now it's time to add all our beautiful ingredients from the garden, our garlic and our chilli. I'm going to add some smoked paprika in here. Now, you don't want to add this too early because paprika, when it's burnt, is extremely bitter. So some beautiful smoked paprika is going in. And just a little rough chop with the parsley. There's better things to do in life than spend hours chopping parsley. So in that goes too. Now I'm going to finish it off just to lift the whole dish. The big squeeze of lemon juice right at the end. And then just pour that onto a beautiful plate with all that gorgeous oil and some beautiful crusty bread. And there you have it, your simple vegan garlic prawns. There are so many reasons why people should garden. There really is nothing more rewarding than before you start your hectic day to make that tea or coffee and just stroll around your yard. Give yourself 10 minutes to just breathe, water the plants, smell the air, and just look at your achievements.